Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Mystical Lore. For actually many reasons. For starters, we are going to explore the story of Medusa, who, until a couple years ago, I thought was just a villain with snake hair. Well, that is far from the truth. And also, this is my first collab with the Mermaid Simmer. The build that you see me use in this video to showcase Medusa has been created by the Mermaid Simmer, so please check out their video because they are such a talented builder, and I'm really honored that they agreed to do this collab with me, and I'm hoping to do actually quite a few more with the Mermaid Simmer eventually in the future. But before we start into the actual video, we are doing the card of the day, which, if you've been following my channel very recently, has been a new addition to the channel. I will say that there might be a video here or there that I don't do the card of the day, and that's usually because I pre-recorded the video, or I may have just forgotten, and I'm sorry about that. So I pulled out the Knight of Cups in reverse, and it seems to be I've been getting a lot of cards in reverse lately, and I'm wondering what that's about. But it says, you may be sulky, moody, and jealous, allowing your emotions to get the better of you. A creative project is emerging, but you are not ready to take action yet. Now, I know a lot of people that view my videos are content creators, so I think we all can relate to having the inspiration to do something, but maybe not quite, it may not be quite the time to do a certain activity. I don't know. I am doing a very general reading on a huge group of people, or not so huge, it depends on how many people see this video. So it doesn't really, I'm gonna more, with the card of the day, kind of just read the saying, and then you can kind of feel how it might fit into your life. It's a lot easier for me to do readings when I'm doing a one-on-one with someone. Like, even through online, when I did my Twitch tarot card reading, I was, for the most part, able to pick up what I needed from the people, and it was awesome. I've said that already a bit. I really enjoyed doing it, and I definitely am going to plan on doing it more. But let's stop rambling about tarot cards, and let's get into the video. Medusa, famously known for her snake hair, was born as a Gorgon, and she was born to Persis and Ceto. Now, Medusa had two sisters whose names I'm probably going to butcher here, but it's Sivino and Uriel. However, unlike her two sisters, she was immortal. Her two sisters were immortal. As well as being the only mortal one of the three sisters, she was also described as being the most beautiful of the three. Her two sisters were described more as being like monsters, while Medusa looked like a beautiful mortal woman. Ovid describes Medusa in Metamorphosis. Again, probably butchering that, but they said, Medusa once had charms to gain her love. A rival crown of envious lovers strove. They, who have seen her, own they never did trance. More moving features in a sweeter face. Yet above all, her length of hair they own in golden ridgets, waved and graceful shone. So, as you can read about that, Medusa was actually a really, really beautiful woman. Now, it does describe her of having golden hair. I didn't give her golden hair for her human form. I kind of based her more off of, like, how I've seen a lot of, like, people pictured in history and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is kind of how I I know I missed the nail on the mark there. I did, however, include like the golden headpiece. I gave her a golden headpiece to kind of like show like the type of beauty she is, because I didn't really worry about like really much makeup and stuff with her on here, considering, you know, uh, they did have makeup, but not the type of makeup that we do these days, you know. I'm not a makeup expert, so I won't even go into that discussion because, yeah, I can't. Now, I will give a trigger warning here because this is a very sensitive topic. So, it's a trigger warning for a violent act from one person to another in a violating way. I won't say the word, but there's the warning. If that upsets you, please skip over this part. I'll just discuss it for about a minute here to do it quickly. But Poseidon, the god of the sea, notices Medusa, and he finds her absolutely gorgeous, and he wants her. But Medusa is a virgin, and she's attending to one of Athena's shrines. But Poseidon does not take no for an answer, and he ravages her. I can't talk. No. He takes her and does as he will to her. And because of this act, especially being performed in Athena's shrine, Athena's wrath is unleashed, and Medusa's beautiful long hair is turned into the snake locks that we all know her for. And on top of her hair being transformed into snakes, her gaze can now turn men to stone. A passage from Vigel says, "In the middle of the Gorgon, Medusa, an enormous monster about whom snarky locks twist their hissing mouths, her eyes stare malevolently, and under the base of her chin, tail ends of serpents have tied knots." So there's been some debate on Medusa being turned into basically a monster. Was this as a punishment to Athena, or was it some type of way for Medusa to protect herself? I went and looked into some of the other myths because I wanted to try to figure out like where Medusa fit into mythological type of stuff more. And as much as I would love to say that I feel like this was a gift, maybe it was to a point, because at least no longer would she be able to be taken advantage of, and she had the power to fight back now. But unfortunately, there is a myth, and I feel like in the long run, Athena put her wrath on the wrong person. Medusa had no control of what had happened to her, and it's just really a shame that her story went this way. But now we are going to dive into some of the other legends where Medusa will show up in and explain a little bit more about her. Sometime later on, after Medusa has been turned into what she is known as today, there is the legend of Persis, and he is sent by Polydex to retrieve the head of Medusa. Now, Polydex is the king of Serpis. Again, if I am butchering any names, please know that I did try. I have pronunciations by my script that I wrote in order to try to do this. But Persis was the son of Zeus and a mortal woman. However, Polydex wanted Persis's mother all to himself, so in order to marry her, he wanted to get Perseus out of the way, and the way that he figured to do it was to try to send him on some ridiculous task that he thought would be fatal. And thanks to a couple gods, it was a success for Perseus. But personally, the more that I find out about Medusa's story, the more I feel bad for Medusa here. So, Perseus received the Cape of Invisibility from Hades, a pair of winged sandals from Hermes, and a bronze shield from Athena, and also a sword from Hephaestus. And these gifts, being divine gifts, being godly gifts, they were very easily able to aid him into his quest of finding Medusa and unfortunately slaying her. And according to legend, he slayed her by decapitating her with the shield that Athena had given him. So essentially, she was scorned by Athena twice, because Athena gave her the snake hair, and then Athena provided the weapon which ended her life. Now, the reason why this is so important is because Medusa, as I had said earlier, was the mortal of her sisters. Had she been immortal like her sisters, this would not have actually killed her. At the time of her death, Medusa was pregnant with Poseidon's children, and when her head was cut off, out of her neck sprung Crithor and Pegasus. And yes, I said Pegasus as in the winged horse, Pegasus. So that's essentially where Greeks said that Pegasus come from. But her severed head, even with her no longer being alive, it still maintained the ability to turn people to stone by just a gaze at it, and it was used as a weapon. So Perseus actually killed Medusa while she was sleeping, which is really a cheap shot, isn't it? But her sisters were actually there at the time of her death, but they were unable to catch him because he was using the winged sandals from Hermes, and he was wearing the cloak of invisibility that was given to him by Hades. So he was able to elude them, basically. So Medusa's head, as I had stated, was used as a weapon, and this came into when Perseus was on his way home. He actually found out that there was an Ethiopian princess named Andromelda who was... he rescued her from a sea monster. Her mother, Cassiopeia, had claimed to be more beautiful than the sea nymphs, so Poseidon had plagued her entire kingdom by flooding it and giving a giant sea monster. And an oracle had told her father, the king, Cepheus, if he exposed his daughter to the sea monster, that everything, like all the problems, would cease. And Perseus was passing by as he saw this happening. He thought the princess was absolutely gorgeous. He fell madly in love with her right on the sight. And he used Medusa's head in order to turn the monster into stone, and then him and the princess got married. When Perseus had returned home, he gave the head to Athena, who put it on her shield, and also the blood of Medusa that was coming from the severed head was used as, well, for two different things. The right side was used to raise the dead, while the left side was used to take people's lives. The final two drops that she didn't give to Asclepus, she gave to her adopted son Erycthon-Eus, who used it as, one was a cure-all, the one drop was a cure-all, and the other drop was a deadly poison. And lastly, Medusa's hair actually held the same power as like her gaze. So even the hair itself was able to turn people to stone. Hercules was given a lock of Medusa's hair, and he gave it to Sterope so she was able to protect her town from any incoming attacks. The image of Medusa's head has been found on quite a few Greek and Roman artifacts such as shields, breastplates, and coins. In the countryside of Cambridgeshire, there was recently a protective Medusa head pendant found that was made in the late 2nd to 4th century AD. It was a Roman artifact, and then also a 2,000-year-old marble head of Medusa was found in a former Roman commercial center in Turkey. So even though the story of Medusa is very sad and very twisted and tragic, at least in her death, she is able to protect others now by some of them physically had used her head in order to slay other monsters. And honestly, I think that her story is a lot more interesting than people give her credit for. So many people only know her as a snake-haired monster, and that's the extent they go. But I am really hoping that this video was informative to you. I learned actually quite a bit. There was some bits of her story that I didn't know at all until the day I was doing the research. I had heard some of it, but I didn't really know like the details of like her blood and stuff like that. I think that was really cool. Pretty interesting to think about, but yeah, I really enjoyed doing this episode. I really enjoyed being able to do this collab with the Mermaid Simmer. You definitely need to check out her build. It is gorgeous. She did such a good job on it, and I'm very happy that we were able to do this collab together. So what kind of creatures would you like me to cover next? I always have a list of things, but I'm always open to suggestions because I'm trying to figure out the order I want to do all this stuff in. So if there's like some creatures that seem to be more popular, I could do those first, and then I could do some of the little lesser known ones later on. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all have a magical day. Bye!